Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Mark your calendars for the 11th Annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/family fun night.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick.
The virus will die.
It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer.
Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine.
To keep safe and strong.
Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabi Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there.
Let's whoop it up for these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the cheering going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. In the face of COVID-19, staying healthy is important. And now the same is true as we face the flu. Influenza has the potential to infect millions, putting lives and the healthcare system at risk. Fortunately, it's easy to protect yourself. The flu vaccine is safe and effective, and with COVID-19 still spreading, it's essential. To see how you can hit this virus head on, visit michigan.gov/flu.
You're listening to your radio homes for the Megacast, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Today's edition of the Megacast begins now. Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe, welcoming you to our live, local, 5 days a week look into all things Michigan. Today, we'll be talking to a number of people about a whole host of fun and interesting stuff, as well as important news stories making headlines right here in the Great Lakes State. Let's get into today's headlines on our website, civiccentertv.com, on our local news page. Our top story today comes from MLive's John Tunison. Following severe thunderstorms with wind gusts nearing Category 1 hurricane levels, nearly 400,000 customers between utilities, Consumers Energy, and DTE Energy were out of power on Monday evening. By late last night, DTE had restored power to just over 240,000 customers, most of which were situated in southeastern Michigan, including here in Oakland County. By the same time last night, Consumers Energy reported just 152,000 customers still without power. Keep in mind, customers doesn't equal people. Those are just bill payers and may affect more than one person or just a couple of people even per household. Hundreds of crews across both utilities remain out on the scene across the area to repair on the repair front this morning, as hundreds of thousands of bill payers and many more overall people remain without power. That connects to another story making headlines on our local news page from the Detroit Free Press's Emma Stein, as Monday's windy, hail, and rain-inundated stormfall caused a power outage and pressure loss at a Great Lakes Water Authority station, leading to what is now a boil water advisory in effect for Commerce Township, Walled Lake, and Novi. A water pressure loss in these systems can lead to contamination of the water, which can include bacterial contamination. The city of Novi advised its residents to boil water before all kinds of uses or strictly use bottled water until the end of this advisory. As was said, DTE and consumers restoration teams have been out since the storm passed, assessing damages and conducting repairs in order to restore power across the local area. Keep in mind, prolonged power outages after storms of even partial magnitude of this one have kept people out of power for extended periods in the past, including just a year ago when we had that pretty consistent line of storms over a couple of weeks where there were several power outages, several instances of severe flooding downriver, and particularly in the Metro Detroit area. DTE recently caused some controversy on this front with its 8.8% rate hike proposal, which would be about approximately $10 per month per bill. That proposal is yet to be approved, and frankly, good luck after this excursion. Plenty of very frustrated customers once again in the local area with DTE Energy, and presumably also with consumers, as nearly 14 hours or so after the beginning of the storm in our local area, power still out for hundreds of thousands of bill payers, and even more people affected by that, well beyond just these households and businesses that are without power at this time. Finally, making headlines today on our CivicCenterTV.com local news page from the Detroit News' Charles Ramirez. The days of free at-home COVID-19 tests provided by the federal government are coming to a close. The U.S. government website providing these tests will close on Friday of this week due to Congress's decision to no longer provide any further funding to the national stockpile of these tests for this particular initiative. In January, the president first announced a commitment to over 1 billion of these tests being available to Americans for free. And even just back in May, the program was extended for what was a third round of output of these free tests. That is no more as of Friday, September 2nd, 2022. All those headlines are on our website, CivicCenterTV.com, on our local news page, as well as supporting materials from within those articles and plenty of other articles from across the Great Lakes state this week and beyond from all these publications. Click through, read these articles in full, see all their supporting details that are linked in these articles and in other articles that they write. And if you have the means to do so while you're on those websites, we highly encourage you to subscribe to these publications and support journalism in your local area. We have a great show ahead on this Tuesday edition of the Megacast. Up next, I'll be joined by the University of Michigan's Michael Spath talking about sports, particularly the Big Ten football season, which begins later on this week. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Fire Prevention Week is just around the corner. Join volunteer, part-time, and on-call firefighters at this year's Fire Open House. Catch up on your fire safety knowledge with live demonstrations and hands-on activities. Chat with local businesses and resources about fire prevention, see some familiar faces, fight future fires, and make some new friends. The West Bloomfield Fire Open House, October 2nd from noon to 3 p.m. at Fire Station 1 on Orchard Lake Road.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Mark your calendars for the 11th annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/Family Fun Night.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily 1-hour TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program by visiting civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations that include My Michigan TV, our co-flagship. Last weekend was week 0 of the college football season, but now, much to the chagrin of this Spartan, we have to count beyond 0 as week 1 gets underway later on this week. Joining us now to preview the Big Ten football season ahead for the University of Michigan, for the Michigan Wolverines, as well as My Michigan State Spartans and beyond, as we look into the future of college football, is Michael Spath, special lecturer at the University of Michigan. Michael, thanks for joining us, and of course, go Green.
Well, you know what? That makes my wife happy. She's a Spartan, so happy to be here and happy to talk college football. What an exciting time it is of the year to finally get going. I've enjoyed our summers, but there's nothing like football and fall season here in Michigan.
Yeah, that first week or week 0, as it's referred to, watching just college football be back in action, even though some of that action not as great as you'd hope for as the college football season gets underway. Week 1, very exciting all across the board. Lots of great games coming up this week, including some Big Ten teams such as Ohio State opening the season this weekend. But for the University of Michigan, it's also a big time of the year because they're at a point where it's a really interesting situation, particularly at the quarterback position. Jim Harbaugh earlier on this week announced that there still isn't quite a decision there on a definitive starting quarterback. Week 1 versus Colorado State, it will be Cade McNamara. Week 2 versus Hawaii, J.J. McCarthy will get the start. And he's kind of moved that goalpost to week 3, so to speak, in terms of choosing a quarterback. What's your take on this particular situation? Because on one hand, you have a returning quarterback that is an upperclassman, has been there, has won a Big Ten championship as your primary quarterback. But you're also looking to the future and continuing to build this program into hopefully a championship contender for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to digest. And I actually really love them because I tell you what, there's so much speculation this offseason about what Michigan's going to do at the quarterback position. You have a returning Big Ten champion, a guy who beat Ohio State, a guy who helped lead Michigan to win over Iowa and win its first conference title since 2004 in Cade McNamara. How do you bench that guy? But at the same time, you've got this young sophomore, J.J. McCarthy, who, by all accounts is the future of Michigan football, is the one who can put up the big numbers that we see across the college football landscape right now. And so what do? You have both of these quarterbacks, and both of them want to stay at the University of Michigan. And so this decision by Jim Harbaugh to play both quarterbacks, to give each of them a start in the first 2 games, would this be happening if Michigan was playing Notre Dame like Ohio State is this weekend, or if they're playing Oregon like Georgia is? Probably not. He would probably have gone with Cade McNamara, but that's not the situation. He has the luxury of playing 3 of the worst non-conference opponents in college football right now in Colorado State, Hawaii, and Connecticut. And so this is an opportunity for him to give both guys a chance to play, show what they can do, and then we'll get to week 3 and we'll debate who looked better and who should be the starter going forward. But I think it's a win for the fans. I think it's a win for both quarterbacks. I think it's a win for the team. I've heard some people speculate and say, well, you need to get your offense, your quarterback in there and get used to it. I mean, come on, guys. This offense is going to roll through these 3 opponents. And so it doesn't make a difference if Cade McNamara gets 80% of the snaps or J.J. McCarthy gets 80% of the snaps. This is going to be easy fodder for them really early on in the year. And it'll be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a great move by Jim Harbaugh. And then, you know what? After 2 weeks, we'll have a whole other debate about who should be the starter going forward.
Yeah, you have these 3 weeks that are kind of throwaway games, as you mentioned, and you don't want to ever treat a game like a throwaway because that's how it becomes a trap game. But we're going up against arguably the worst non-conference schedule in all of college football, and definitely so in the Big Ten, going up against Colorado State, Hawaii, and Connecticut. You have some time to make that decision. But from my perspective, my thought for the University of Michigan is they have to decide on what is this team this year. Are they a championship level team this year, Big Ten championship, potentially a national championship contender this year? And if that's the case, I stick with the guy that's been Mr. Consistency, that has got you there before, and go with Cade McNamara. But if you're looking toward the future, if you still think you're a couple years away from really being able to contend with the best of the best, particularly from the SEC, teams like Georgia and teams like Alabama, then maybe you go with a guy that's got a little bit of youth and has some development left, but has that high potential in J.J. McCarthy. For you, from your perspective, especially as a Michigan guy, which way would you prefer? Are you a Cade guy? Are you a J.J. guy? And where's your decision in terms of whether they go for it all now, or if they should be developing for it all down the road?
Well, I mean, the crazy thing about college football is this idea of developing for down the road. I mean, they don't necessarily have to. There's nothing that says that J.J. McCarthy can't be everything that they need him to be in 2022 and compete with Ohio State for the Big Ten title and go and play in the college football playoff again. I look at it like this. I mean, if you had a normal non-conference schedule, and I did some history, some research the other day. This is the first time since the 1960s that Michigan will have a non-conference without a Power 5 opponent on it. So we're talking, 60 years where they've had at least one Power 5, labeled by today's standards on their non-conference schedule. So I look at this is the perfect opportunity for someone like J.J. McCarthy to play against Colorado State, Hawaii, Connecticut, and then to play against Maryland. Those are 4 easy games to start the year before they go on the road to play Iowa. If it was up to me, I would probably go with the young guy. And here's the thing, if the young guy were to struggle in the first couple of weeks, you could say, you know what, we've got this proven Big Ten championship quarterback in Cade McNamara, and now I will go with Cade McNamara. The flip side is if Cade McNamara struggles, but I don't think he will. I mean, Cade McNamara is consistent. So, yeah, I would go with J.J. McCarthy the first 4 games and see what he does. But, they're going with this approach, and we're all going to have a lot of fun being the armchair quarterbacks that we are and breaking it down and saying who should get what in the next couple of weeks. So it's fun, man. I mean, this is what we all live for. And either way, they're going to be a good football team this year. Either way, they're going to be a team that can win 9, 10, potentially 11 games during the regular season and have a chance to beat Michigan State, Penn State, Ohio State. Will they? We don't know yet, but they'll have that chance as the season unfolds.
Yeah, certainly this year for the University of Michigan, as you've already mentioned and touched on, that offense is going to be there. It's a lot of returning players, especially in those skill positions. I mean, the loss of Hassan Haskins is going to have some sort of an impact, but you got Donovan Edwards back there. You're returning Blake Corum. And in the receiving core, you're already strong and returning Ronnie Bell after injury this year. So that offense is going to be pretty powerful. The defense is where you lose some of those key guys, Aiden Hutchinson, David Ajabo, and so on. That's really where there's some point of maybe a little bit of concern. But even then, not a whole lot of concern, I wouldn't think. What's your take on the defensive losses for Michigan and the impact that could have on them, particularly in some of those big games in the Big Ten that you mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because they should be better in the secondary than they were a year ago, even with the loss of Dax Hill, who was a first-round draft pick. And they might be as good at linebacker, but you don't lose 2 guys like Hutchinson or Jabo combined for 27 sacks. You don't lose those 2 guys and just think that you're going to pick up right where you left off. I mean, the nice thing again is the fact that they have 4 cupcakes to open up the season, so it gives an opportunity to a lot of defensive ends and rush players to develop some confidence and develop some production, and that's exciting. But yeah, I mean, you look at it like they were a really good defense a year ago. They bottled up C.J. Stroud at Ohio State, and that was one of the big reasons why they were to beat the Buckeyes. They struggled against Kenneth Walker from Michigan State, and that's why they lost that game. They looked good against Sean Clifford in Penn State and won that game. I mean, when the defense played well, as good as the offense was and as good as the offense can be this year, when the defense played well is how they won, 11 games during the regular season and won the Big Ten championship. So again, they open up with a fairly easy non-conference, so they should have an opportunity to build that confidence. But I'm curious. I'm really curious. I mean, I've heard so many names speculated about who's going to replace Hutchinson and Ajabo, but until we see that in live game action, it's just hypothetical right now, but it should be fun to see who are those guys: Jalen Harrell, Chris Jenkins, Rayshon Benny, some of the ones that I've heard, Taylor Upshaw. I mean, these are not household names. Nobody's household names. But David Ajaba wasn't a household name a year ago, and now he is. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting, and let's just get it rolling here. And the nice thing is Michigan State plays on Friday, so we don't have to wait that much longer to watch our teams play.
And just northwest of Ann Arbor, in East Lansing, Michigan State Spartans. A lot of expectations for that team as well coming back this year. And you think about that defense last year, absolutely atrocious. Arguably the worst in the Big Ten, one of the worst in the entire NCAA, especially in the secondary. As expected, Mel Tucker goes into the transfer portal. Plug some of those holes. Guys like Chris Bogle coming in from Florida, Jacoby Windeman coming in from UNLV at the linebacker position, Aaron Brule, another guy there. And then particularly in the secondary, getting Amir Speed from Georgia, certainly going to have some sort of an impact. How much of a factor is the defensive woes in Michigan State's ability to be competitive against some of the other top contenders in the Big Ten this year in the University of Michigan, Ohio State, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, they lost 2 games last year against Purdue and Ohio State, and both times they lost, they got crushed by the passing game. Aiden O'Connell at Purdue threw for 550 yards, and then CJ Stroud went out there and I think he had 5 passing touchdowns in the first half against Michigan State. And so, that is the whole key for the Spartans is, are they better in the secondary than they were a year ago? They have some intriguing players up front. They've got a really good linebacker in Cal Halliday coming back, who was a leader for that group a year ago. But are they going to be? I mean, they were given up 340 yards in the passing game last year. I mean, that's unheard of to be giving up that many yards. Even in today's college football, where they throw a lot more than they used to give up more than 300 yards per game is something I hadn't seen in the Big Ten in a long time. So, yeah, I mean, look, if they, they're talking about winning 9 or 10 games or competing with Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State for a conference championship. And if they're going to do it, they cannot be the defensive sieve that they were in the secondary a year ago. And so you mentioned some of the transfers they brought in. Obviously, it's been a point of emphasis all offseason. And if they get better in that spot, then there's no reason with what they have at the quarterback spot, what they have at wide receiver. And then, I think we'll probably talk about it, but how does the running game develop in the absence of Kenneth Walker? But if they can answer some of those questions, there's no reason that they can't win 9, 10, 11 games in the Big Ten regular season.
Yeah, Jarek Broussard coming in from Colorado and Jalen Berger coming in from Wisconsin to replace Kenneth Walker III in the backfield for the Michigan State Spartans. That kind of production from Kenneth Walker III, which for a lot of people was a surprise, a big factor in Michigan State's ability to stay in a lot of those games when their defense was certainly lacking. That's definitely going to be a factor as they try to answer that 11-2 season and compete with the University of Michigan and with Ohio State, who they see early on in the season in East Lansing. In terms of Ohio State, give us an outlook on what you believe is going to be the case for the Buckeyes this season, coming in after a strong year in the Big Ten, losing, of course, in the Big Ten championship. Not in the Big Ten championship at the end of the season, to the University of Michigan, sending U of M to the Big Ten championship game where they eventually won. What do you think about the Buckeyes in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, on paper, they look amazing, right? I mean, CJ Stroud was third in the Heisman ballot last year, lost to Bryce Young and Aiden Hutchinson, but I mean, he's back and he's got, incredible weapons. They lost 2 wide receivers, but they probably have the best wide receiver in the country coming back. They have a top running back in Trayvon Henderson, who's going to be a sophomore. I mean, this is a team like Alabama, like Georgia, and fairly consistently like Clemson, that seems to not just reload every year, but somehow almost gets more talented every year. And they had a lot of defensive problems. Michigan ran the football right down their throat in the final game of the regular season, and that's why Michigan beat Ohio State. So they've spent a lot of time in the offseason. They brought in a new defensive coordinator from Oklahoma State. Their goal is to be one of the top 20 defenses in college football. And if they can combine that with what is a scary, scary offense, then we should see them roll through the Big Ten, or most of the Big Ten, like we consistently have seen the last couple of years. They have a massive matchup with Notre Dame on Saturday night. Marcus Freeman, a former Ohio State linebacker, is now coaching at Notre Dame. And so we're going to get a good look at both the Irish and the Buckeyes in this first week. But I would be stunned if Ohio State is not going into the Michigan game, at least a 10-1 football team and potentially an 11-0 football team, just like they have been. And so then it's, the task is for Michigan State and for Michigan and for Penn State. One of those three teams, are you good enough this year to beat Ohio State? If you do, chances are you're playing for the Big Ten championship. If you don't, well, then we're going to see more of the same, which is Ohio State in Indianapolis this year.
Yeah, as much as it pains me to say, I believe the Big Ten championship certainly runs through Columbus and Ann Arbor this year. Once again, if you can beat either or ideally both of them, you have a very solid chance at competing for the Big Ten championship and probably winning that. We're joined by Michael Spath, special lecturer at the University of Michigan on the Megacast today. Before I let you go, I want to give you a moment to give us your take on the future of college football, particularly the Big Ten, where it looks like the future of college football is going to be two super conferences, the Big Ten, whatever that becomes, and the SEC, whatever that becomes, with the Big Ten already adding or set to add USC and UCLA next year. What do you think that the Big Ten needs going forward to really be that competitive secondary or even primary super conference as opposed to the SEC? What do they really need to get over that hump and be that king of the hill conference, especially in the era of super conferences?
Well, they're well on their way by adding USC and UCLA. I mean, with USC and Ohio State, you have two of the premier programs in college football that can both recruit at an elite level and have shown in the last 20 years that they can compete with Alabama and Georgia and the best of the SEC. The question is can Michigan State, can Penn State, can UCLA, those are the programs that have the ability to recruit at a high level. Can they consistently recruit at that level to join the USC and Ohio State consistency? We're going to see. What they need, what the Big Ten needs to take one more step.
Appears we're having some issues with Michael there, just a little phrase up there. I'll continue on. I'll give you what my take is. I think they need to continue with some of those power teams in the top 25. Michael's back. Go ahead. Continue on, Michael.
Oh, sorry. I would, if I was the Big Ten, what I would be doing is I would be going after Oregon and Washington. I'd be going after Notre Dame. And I would look at the South and say, who can we poach from the South? And the teams that we've heard is Georgia Tech, North Carolina, and even Florida State. Florida State is a pretty good academic school. I think they rank in the top 60 according to the U.S. News World Rankings. Like, that fits the Big Ten model. And if the Big Ten can go get a Florida school and open up that recruiting territory and that TV market and go get, say, Georgia Tech, which Georgia Tech is a bad football program, but open up the Georgia recruiting territory, and then you add Oregon and Washington or maybe Notre Dame, I think they'll have a chance to be the biggest super conference. Obviously, the SEC is adding Oklahoma and Texas. We don't know what they're going to do after that. I think they probably want Miami and Clemson. But it's both fun and aggravating because the Big Ten, because college football is shifting so dramatically right now. And for most of us who have grown up in an era of the 80s, the 90s, even the 2000s, or if you go back further, the 70s, college football was always geographically centered. So it was the teams that were close to you, that's who you played. And now it's stretching from, New York City, or I guess, Piscataway, New Jersey, where Rutgers is, to Southern California, potentially down to Tallahassee and up to Seattle. So it's really stretching across the country. It's no longer about geography. It's just about as many big brands as you can get, as much money as you can get. That's what's driving college football and really has for the last 20 years.
Yeah, that forward thinking simply just not there at the NCAA level. And when you stick so vehemently to tradition, when tradition breaks, it breaks quickly and it breaks fast and has a large impact. Michael, appreciate you joining us today talking about this year's Big Ten football schedule and all the other great stories across college football.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me. Appreciate it. Sorry about the Wi-Fi. We all got our power knocked out by a storm yesterday, so we're just hanging on here as best we can.
That's for sure. Appreciate it. University of Michigan special lecturer Michael Spath joining us on today's edition of the Megacast. Let's take a break. When we come back, as Michael said, the power is out. A boil water advisory was declared in a few Oakland County communities. What does that mean? Why do we need to take these sort of precautions with our water when these events happen? We'll talk about that and more with Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash up next on the Megacast.
Let's savor these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Mark your calendars for the 11th Annual Family Fun Night at West Bloomfield High School. Stop by on Friday, September 16th at 5 p.m. for an evening of free, fun activities as we honor our military, police, and fire heroes. Plus, stick around to see Laker football take on Clarkston at 7 p.m. To find out more, scan the QR code on your screen or visit wbsd.org/community/family fun night.
Can I ask you a question? Why do you want to get the COVID-19 vaccine?
I don't like getting sick.
The virus will die.
It will be easy to not catch it. Keep my family safe and keep playing soccer.
Because I love being vaccinated.
What's your hope for everyone?
I hope everybody gets the vaccine.
To keep safe and strong.
Be happy, having fun everywhere. Everyone stay safe and hope you get the vaccine.
Connect with local leaders, philanthropists, and more. The Greater West Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce presents the 2022 Leadership Breakfast. Join the Chamber for a morning of insight with guest speaker Laura Graneman, with the whole event emceed by Fox 2 News anchor Roop Raj. Join your local businesses at the Wabi Country Club September 13th at 8:30 a.m. Order your tickets by September 6th at westbloomfieldchamber.com/breakfast. We'll see you there.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily 1-hour TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Kieft. Learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Our water is perhaps our greatest resource. It affects every bit of our lives, and what we do has a massive effect on our water as well. Here to talk about that often complicated relationship is Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash. Jim, appreciate you joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on with us. So, of course, the big storm yesterday on Monday knocked out power for hundreds of thousands of people across the Metro Detroit area, across southeastern Michigan. And in Oakland County, there were a few communities, Commerce Township, Walled Lake, and Novi, that as a result of this storm ended up going under a boil water advisory that is in effect, that was issued by the Great Lakes Water Authority. Can you take us through what the concerns are when you have a power outage and it affects a water treatment station and you have that loss of pressure? Just what issues does that cause in our local area for our water?
Well, the thing is, it has to make sure it's safe. Generally speaking, when we're doing these kind of things, once the problem is solved, we have to do 2 days worth of testing to see if there's any bacterial residue left in. When you lose pressure, what that can do often is pull in things back into the system that you really don't want there, because it reverses that pressure. We have a program, and every community has it, where we check sprinklers for people's homes, sprinkler systems in the ground, because if there's negative pressure, it can pull things out of the ground into the water system. So to prevent that, we have backflow preventers that have to be installed in anything that's underground. A lot of commercial operations that we have things where people have to have some kind of backflow preventers. So that doesn't happen. In the best of cases, that things can happen though. So that's why we have to do that testing to make sure that we haven't been affected by negative pressure bringing things into the system.
And so, as the issues arise, how do water resources across the communities, whether it be the Oakland County Water Resources Commission or it be the Great Lakes Water Authority, how do these groups partner together to help prevent these sorts of issues from popping up, but also to respond to these issues and alert the affected communities as soon as possible?
Well, it depends on the community. We operate and maintain for Commerce Township, so we are in charge of all those kind of things. In Novi, they do all their own work. We have operations and maintenance for about 17 communities in Oakland County. Some very large ones, from like Farmington Hills all the way down to little tiny ones, Kego Harbor, communities like that. So we range everything. But other than the ones that we operate and maintain, they all do their own work. So they're going to be the ones to make sure that the systems are up to pressure and they have all those controls over that. And we help with that. Virtually everybody that gets these kind of water in Oakland County is they're customers of Great Lakes Water Authority. So they're in charge of the pressure. They're in charge of all those things, notifying people because it's their systems often that do that. So whether it's the local system itself that causes the loss of pressure or the larger OMID system like we had a few weeks ago now, up the big pipe up in Lake Huron that broke, that affected well over 1 million people. And luckily for us in Oakland County, we had enough backup supply for that we didn't really get that kind of low pressure. So we didn't have a boil water notice in most of Oakland County.
We're joined by Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash on the Megacast. Jim, just this month, the first spotted lanternflies in Michigan were detected by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They were detected in Oakland County on county land in Pontiac. Can you tell us about the spotted lanternfly and ecologically how that could affect our local area?
Oh, well, this is a classic case of an invasive species. And really, it's the case of an invasive species bringing in a new invasive species. This lanternfly is very particular to the tree of heaven, which is an invasive species. It was brought in for landscaping for many, many years. And now we are, bringing in those bugs that live off that tree. This is the first time that we found this here in Michigan, and it was on property that is part of the Clinton River Water Resource Recovery Facility that we operate and maintain in Pontiac. This was just discovered rather accidentally, and that's how often these things are done. And luckily, when we were reached out to by the Eagle, that we have kind of immediately launched into action. We got the help of actually Oakland County Facilities Management and Operations. They've now worked with us to put pesticides in that infestation. It would have taken Eagle a little while to get to that, so we were able to take care of that infestation right away instead of having to wait, which is good. The faster you do it, the less chance of them scattering into a different direction. These are rather large bugs that have an impact on trees. Especially the invasive tree of heaven, but also trees that are around it, and they will spread once they are, locked into an area. So responding quick is very important, and I'm glad that we were able to do that.
We're joined by Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash on the Megacast. Oakgov.com is where you can find more information on everything happening in Oakland County from the government's position, including the Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash on with us today. Some good news in Oakland County, in northern Oakland County recently, as officials announced a $110 million sewer project. You had some very positive things to say about this project. Tell us what this is doing for these communities in northern Oakland County and why this is such a great investment at this time in our history.
Well, it was an unusual way of approaching this that we were offered a couple of 3 years ago now, that would allow us to stop the issue that has been growing in these areas of failing septic systems. I can tell you, I sit on the Oakland County Parks Board, and one of our parks up there, Groveland Oaks, has some real issues with failing septics. they were actually trucking sewage out on a regular basis because they couldn't use the old systems. Now this is giving them an option. They're going to do some internal stuff in the park, and then they'll hook up to this sewer system, which again, what this does is all across northern Oakland County, and it's an issue all over the state, is our failing septic systems in residences and businesses, large and small. So what in this area up here, we have areas that are very business oriented along M24 and I-75, that area up there that allows that have been have businesses and some light industry up there for some time, but that's being threatened by their failing septics. We've already seen a couple of restaurants close, issues around that. So this allows us to use the Genesee County wastewater treatment plant up north that they're adding to anyway, and they're bringing up some southern Genesee County community sewer flow to them. And they said, well, look, if you come in with some funding to make that pipe larger for our facilities, then you could be part of that, and we can send our sewage up to Genesee to be treated for rather than try to depend on these failing septics. What this does is it allowed us to fix the size of this pipe, so it can only take the size of the area that they want to have switched to sewer. The rest of the area will still be septics. They're larger lots. They tend to be very residential, and they don't want to have a lot of growth, and we don't want to see sprawl either. So we want to make sure that we're just supporting the areas that need support because they're losing their ability to function without a proper sewage disposal. And this will actually, there's 3 lakes that are up in that area that are threatened by failing septics that will be able to service those folks, and we'll save those lakes. Kersley Creek up in the village up in Brandon there will be able to get service, and that creek is threatened by failing septics in that area. So they'll be able to expand their downtown that they've been wanting to do for a long time, but couldn't because of their failing systems. So this is going to serve those areas without encouraging sprawl, and make it so they can have that those areas for development in the longer term without worrying about it.
We're joined by Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash on the Megacast. Jim, another couple minutes before we'll say goodbye today. Anything else at this time that residents of Oakland County should be keeping in mind in terms of their water or any other issues we haven't discussed yet today?
Well, there are, there's a lot of grants that are going to be coming down in the next few years from the state through those federal programs that were passed last year and this year that will allow us to do significant infrastructure work. A lot of it is geared towards communities that have been underserved for a significant amount of time. So we'll be able to help communities like Pontiac, Royal Oak Township. But we're looking for grants to help with that project up north with an evergreen project that allows us to build infrastructure in Detroit in exchange for better flow from our areas and our sewer systems. We're working on an affordability program with 2 of our more hard-hit economically communities, again, Pontiac and Royal Oak Township, that will be more guided. We got a state grant that will allow us to develop this in a more statewide manner, so any community can develop an affordability plan to help their lowest income folks afford their water and sewer services. Without that, people are left out. Without that, it's unhealthy for the larger population. So these are the kind of things we're working on to make our system more sustainable and resilient for the long term.
Oakgov.com/water for all that information. Jim, thank you for joining us today.
Well, thanks for having me.
Again, that website, oakgov.com/water for more information and updates from the Oakland County Water Resources Commissioner's Office. We'll take a break on the Megacast. When we come back, we'll talk to a nonprofit that's helping to not only protect our local environment and prevent waste, but also help to make building new buildings more efficient in the city of Detroit. That's up next. You're watching and listening to the Megacast.
Now that the vaccine is available for children 5 and up, why do you recommend it?
Kids are part of the community and they can spread COVID.
We're seeing both healthy children getting sick from the virus as well as children with underlying health conditions.
They can easily bring the virus home to other people that are vulnerable and make them sick as well.
This vaccine can change that and keep children safe.
It's essential that your children get vaccinated to protect them, to protect your families, and to protect those in the community around you.
I'm feeling good. Let's savor these moments. Made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the dining out going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date. Let's relish these moments, made possible by the COVID-19 vaccine. Keep the festivals going by keeping yourself protected and your COVID-19 vaccines up to date.
Welcome back to the Megacast, our live daily 1-hour TV, radio, and streaming show about all things Michigan. I'm Tyler Keith. Learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV. Joining us now on the program is Christopher Rutherford. He is the executive director of the Architectural Salvage Warehouse of Detroit, a nonprofit focused on reducing waste as buildings are deconstructed and new ones take their place. Christopher, appreciate you coming on the show today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Good to have you with us. So first off, tell us about your organization, some of the work that it does to not only help reduce waste as buildings are deconstructed here in southeastern Michigan, but also use some of that, what would be waste, to help build new properties in this area.
Yeah, as you mentioned, we're a nonprofit and our mission is to transform waste into opportunity. And we do that through deconstruction, which is the process of dismantling a building or a house piece by piece and salvaging and saving all of the parts that we possibly can. And we take those parts and we make all sorts of new things. You can see our work all around the city of Detroit and big projects like the Foundation Hotel to smaller residential projects. But a big part of our mission is to provide low-cost building materials to Detroiters. So if you've got a family whose boiler breaks down this winter, they could come in and get something like that here for pennies on the dollar compared to what they'd have to spend on something new. Or someone doing historical preservation could find a door or trim or a unique piece that matches a project that they're working on. We incubate other businesses and help build the reuse economy. So lots of different things mix into our mission. And another big important part for us is training and employing formerly incarcerated individuals and providing them a career pathway into the trades and a good sustainable opportunity for the future.
So where did this effort begin, this mission of ASW Detroit? When did it begin, and really what was that spark that began this effort?
Yeah, so we're coming up on 20 years next year. So we started in 2003. Carolyn Mosier was our founder, and originally the organization had a stronger focus on the historical preservation side. And as it evolved through the visions of the various directors and board of directors, it included some of the other things that we talked about, and to where it is now, where our main focus is C&D waste is the biggest source of waste in the country. So reducing that is key to our mission. Helping the environment, reducing the pollutants that come with demolition and all those materials that go into the landfill.
So just how common is it for a lot of these materials that you'll find in these demolitions of buildings, whether it be residential or commercial or some mixture? How often do you find that these materials that are being thrown away after those demolitions could be used in another property? How common is that?
Almost always. There's a few pieces of a building that we can't use. We can't reuse the lead-based paint that the plaster is coated in, or some of the other miscellaneous things. But even the blighted Detroit homes that we deconstruct have beautiful, gorgeous lumber that can be used to build pieces of furniture and wall coverings and unique, beer tap handles and guitar bodies. And the ideas and possibilities are endless, and the lumber that the houses are built out of are the forests that used to cover Michigan. The history that's in them, the old growth character of that wood is phenomenal.
We're joined by Christopher Rutherford. He is the executive director of the Architectural Salvage Warehouse of Detroit. Joining us on the Megacast, you can find more information on the organization by visiting ASWDetroit.com. aswdetroit.org. aswdetroit.org is their website to find more information and to shop some of their products as well. So for those that maybe aren't able to get online, is there another way they can go about shopping for some of these products if they're looking to do some repairs at their home and reuse some of these products from other buildings across our local area?
Yeah, we're in the process of renovating our retail store, but even while it's under renovation, people can come in and our lumber warehouse is open Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5. And our address is 5110 Bellevue. We're in Detroit down by the old Packard plant. So we love to have people come in and see what we're about and explore. We've got a big event coming up, a big party fundraiser to help us complete the warehouse renovation, retail renovation, and that's going to be a lot of fun. We've got 5 bands, we've got food and drink activities, we've got a juried art exhibition, art auction, silent auction. It's really going to be a great event on September 10th.
So you mentioned September 10th for that event. Is it free to the public? Is it a paid event? How can people participate?
Yeah, it's kids 12 and under are free. Tickets are $45 for adults, and they can buy the tickets online and or in the store here. And you can also participate in the auction and silent auction, whether you're here in person or virtual. And there's links to that on our website, or there will be as we lead up to the event.
aswdetroit.org is their website, aswdetroit.org. You can find more information on their organization, shop for some of their products, and of course, learn more about their upcoming fundraiser event, September 10th on their website. One more time, aswdetroit.org for all of that information. Christopher, just what kind of an impact does this restoration and does this preservation of some of these materials from these homes have on the community and the environment in our local area?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's so many different aspects to it. So we'll take one house, for example, in the city. We can divert up to 40 tons of material that would be going into the landfill and transform that into upwards of $2 million in potential revenue in the reuse market, creating products from guitar blanks for Wallace Detroit guitars to dining tables for Workshop Detroit, and a wide variety of other businesses that utilize our materials. And so we're keeping those materials out of the landfill. And at the same time, instead of using one guy in a excavator and one guy with a fire hose, we're employing 8 to 10 people for a few weeks, salvaging those materials, denailing and processing the lumber, and then more people for more weeks here in the shop building new things, and more people at the other shops that are fabricating it into the products that I already mentioned. So it's waste diversion, it's jobs, and then there's, of course, the history and provenance of those elements that are coming out of the buildings and houses in Detroit that we're preserving and help them carry on into their next life and next opportunity.
aswdetroit.org is their website for more information, to shop for some of these products as well, support the organization, and learn more about their upcoming events, including their fundraiser on September 10th this year. It's the ASW Block Party featuring inaugural design IT contest as well. September 10th from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. At their location. Again, more information can be found aswdetroit.org/events for all of that. We're joined by Executive Director of Architectural Salvage Warehouse of Detroit, or ASWD, Christopher Rutherford, on the Megacast. Christopher, how in other ways can people support the mission of this organization, either by donations of items, certainly financial donations, or even giving their time to help your organization?
Yeah, first of all, if you're thinking about doing any sort of renovation, maybe you decided to upgrade your refrigerator, but your old one still works great, don't put it to the curb. Give us a call. Let us know what you have up available, and we'll see if we can salvage that and bring it in and find it a new home. Whether it's a kitchen renovation, a bath, or if you're tearing down your house to build a new one, all of those are great ways to get some materials to a better home, a needed home. Of course, financial donations are great. You can donate directly on our website, on our Facebook, and as we get the renovations done here, we'll start listing volunteer opportunities. But if you think that you'd like to do some volunteer work with us, give us a call and we'll see if there's something you can help us out with.
You also mentioned, we have a couple more minutes with you today. You also mentioned that you will help with people that may be getting out of jail or getting out of the prison system to do some of this work in some of these demolition jobs or restoration jobs into new homes. For those that may be in that sort of a situation and want to exercise some of these opportunities that may be available, how can they go about doing that?
The best way right now would be to send us an email at info@aswdetroit.org. We are planning our next cohort now, so I don't have a start date yet, but as soon as we do, we'll get those folks into that program and get them the training and get the experience and lots of good stuff.
Christopher Rutherford is with us on the Megacast, Executive Director of the Architectural Salvage Warehouse of Detroit, a nonprofit you can find at aswdetroit.org. Christopher, before we let you go, anything else you'd like us to know about ASW Detroit or other things we should be keeping in mind about your organization and your mission?
I really appreciate the opportunity to share our story with everyone. Our vision is a world without waste. So anything you can do to help reduce waste is going to help everyone and help our kids, help the future. And we're doing everything we can.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Christopher.
Thank you.
aswdetroit.org for more information. Again, that event, September 10th, 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. at their location in Detroit. aswdetroit.org/events for all of that information and to get your tickets in advance. That is going to do it for this Tuesday edition of the Megacast. Big thank you to all of our guests on today's edition of the program. Michael Spath from the University of Michigan, special lecturer there. Water Resources Commissioner Jim Nash from Oakland County, as well as, of course, Christopher Rutherford from ASW Detroit joining us on today's program. You can find all these interviews and our full episode on demand, as well as all of our episodes dating all the way back to March of 2020 at civiccentertv.com/megacast. While you're there, you can click and learn more information about all of our partnering TV stations across Oakland County and around the Great Lakes State. And of course, keep up to date on everything we're doing here at the Megacast, live from 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Monday through Friday, each and every week. Big thank you as well to our crew, Calvin Brown out at Master Control, and of course, the king of television, Larry Nyland, our producer for each edition of this program. And civiccentertv.com/local-news is your home for information all across the state of Michigan, our headlines each and every day, and those links to the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division's COVID-19 specific websites. A programming update. We got more football coverage coming up on Friday this week. The West Bloomfield Lakers have their home opener at the Swamp at West Bloomfield High School, going up against the Harper Woods Pioneers, joining the OAA, down divisions a couple of ways from the Lakers in the OAA Red, and welcoming them to this conference for the first time. So Lakers open up their home games this season after their victory last week Thursday at the Zenith Prep Kickoff Classic 47-7 over the Sterling Heights Stevenson Titans in that game in Detroit. You can learn more about the team and keep up to date on what's coming up for them on This Week in Laker Football every single week on Civic Center TV. New episode already underway and airing on our channel. You can also find it on our YouTube channel. Just search Civic Center TV 15 and you can watch that right there, and also find it at civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. That's it for this Tuesday edition of the Megacast. We'll return with a new episode on Wednesday morning.
This is My Michigan TV, a unique news streaming television network. To watch